right, hello. Welcome back to Are You Cirrus? It is episode 9, and we are continuing our theme of guests. We're introducing the rest of the WBF First Alert Weather Team. I'm Jamie Arnold.
I am meteorologist Andrew Dockery, and we have a special guest. Meteorologist Matt Bullock is joining us this week.
Hey, y'all.
Welcome to our set, our humble abode.
I'm excited, man.
Matt Bullock, a.k.a. Matty B, a.k.a. Fratty Matty.
Fratty Matty.
And internally, I don't even know if you know this, but we refer to you, if we're discussing, like, okay, well, what do we need to do with Matt? Because our boss's name is Matt. He's Matt V1, Matt version 1, and you're Matt V2. Yeah, for
we'll
Matt version 2.
We'll text each other. It's like, talk to Matt V2. He's good to go. Or, hey,
how's Matt V1? Yeah.
Chatting with Matt V1. He's in a good mood. So I can't wait to really dive into a little bit more about Matt, especially grilled cheese.
Grilled cheese.
We teased that last episode. If you don't know what that is, we'll talk more about that.
We'll definitely get into grilled cheese.
People are listening.
I know. You were just running through some of the numbers, and, we started this thing. We're like, nobody's going to listen to us.
Maybe 20 people.
I
was just thinking our
That's
friends.
Pushing it. That's really pushing it.
Almost 550 downloads.
Yeah.
Which is the Spotify streaming platform, Apple as well, and then approaching 2,000 views on YouTube.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So Matt V2, we're about to blow you up.
Yeah.
I hope so. If not, the ratings will go down.
This is gonna.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. If this one flops, you're fired.
I do want to bring in a couple of questions, and Matt can kind of chime in on this. Yeah. But first, before we bring in questions, last premiere we were talking about. With Robert, we were talking about hurricanes and all, and just some comments that came through. And Jamie, these were all like 2 days ago. Mark said, "You guys are awesome. Totally enjoy these podcasts." Thank you, Mark. We appreciate that. Jay says, "Hey, I'm a Conway native here. Anyways, really enjoying the podcast. I rate it 5 stars for everyone."
Perfect.
You should do that as well on Spotify. Apparently that helps us out. I don't know. He said, "I still wish they were longer, but I enjoy listening to the hurricane pods. Would actually love one specifically for inland communities in the future."
I like that.
So, Jay, we will get that to you. But I wanted to bring up Judy, because Judy gave us a question that you answered in the premiere, but I didn't know that it actually deletes the premiere comments. So, Judy, we're going to answer it again this time on the podcast. We were talking about Matthew and the backside of Matthew.
Yeah.
And she asked, was there lots of water saturated in the ground as Matthew rolled in, causing all the damage?
And that's a really interesting question. And a lot of times you'll hear us say, well, the ground's saturated, so that's going to make even more winds blow down. My response to her question was yes and no. Matthew was really interesting, as we talked about on the last episode. The first half of Matthew is what brought all of the rain, with 15, 20, 25 inches of rain. And then the backside was all of the wind. So that was a factor. The ground was obviously saturated. The ground was really wet even before Matthew, because a lot of people kind of forget, and I'm getting old because I forget the name, but about a month prior to Matthew, there was a hurricane that made landfall on the Florida Panhandle and came up Interstate 95. And that one dropped about 5 to 10 inches of rain. Didn't cause any flooding, but 5 to 10 inches of rain, so the rivers were already pretty full. The ground was really wet. It was just one of those active late summer periods where we had a lot of thunderstorms. So Matthew came in with its rain, and yes, the ground was wet. But the other thing about Matthew, and you two weren't here, but there was just a lot of tree damage for, peak winds around here for Matthew were 70 to 80 miles per hour, but there was just a tremendous amount of wind damage. A couple reasons. One, yes, the ground was saturated. 2, 70 to 80 mile per hour winds are going to knock down trees no matter what. It's going to happen. It is going to happen. 3, it was an unusual wind direction for us to have strong winds. Most of the time, when we get strong winds from a tropical storm or hurricane, they're either coming from the east or the northeast.
Yeah.
Our trees can kind of handle that. If you look around here, you see a lot of our trees that are kind of leaning that way already, or sort of sculpted that way a little bit because they're just used to that prevailing wind. Matthew was a west and northwest wind. So the trees aren't really used to that kind of a wind. They went right over.
And that's where a lot of the damage came from on the backside of that system.
Yeah.
Judy, thank you for your question. And I feel like we always bury it. You can ask questions anywhere Twitter, Facebook, comments. We'd love to get to it, which is where I really want to bring Matt in because I've been saving this question for him. Because he's younger than us.
Oh, yeah. Like a year or two.
His answer's going to change compared to what probably I will say and Jamie will say. We can all answer it. But Jeff asked this question a couple of weeks ago, and I've been saving it for this week. And Matt, I'll let you answer it first. What are some essential things for upcoming college students that want to get either in the broadcasting industry or in the meteorology industry that you think they should really focus on learning while in school?
Honestly, just being hungry because, I remember when I was in college, first of all, getting internships is super hard. Let me just tell you that. It is so hard. I got lucky enough where my internship was at WREL in Raleigh, and the chief meteorologist at the time, Greg Fischel, he was actually my next door neighbor. So
wow.
It's all about who you know.
Yeah, okay.
And so, he hooked me up with the internship, and him and Mike Mays to kind of show me the ropes. And one of the most valuable advice they gave me, because I was worried about, trying to make the perfect forecast. Like anytime I work in my reels, I would do like the full forecast. As soon as I mess up, run back, record again, trying to make the perfect forecast. And Mike Mays told me, listen, every forecast you're going to have one mistake, at least one, for the rest of your life. If you think you're going to have the perfect forecast, you're not. That's number one. And number two is, even if you're applying to places, you get a lot of no's, just keep going. I remember so many job opportunities I got turned down. And at one point in my life, I actually gave up. I'm not kidding. I ended up selling life insurance at Bankers Life. I did it for a week. I was studying for the test, ended up hating it. Ended up working at a gas station for 4 weeks, and then finally got my call. Someone gave me a shot. And I was at WOY in Southern West Virginia. They gave me my first shot, and the rest is history.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that. I like all of that. I love, and I've always said, the internships are where you really, really figure out what's going on. School's great. School's fine.
School's awesome.
But you got to get that real world experience. Yep. And those internships, do it.
Jenna she's our intern coming up this summer. She was watching the podcast. Jenna, get ready. We're going to put you to work.
Oh, yeah. And probably bring her on the podcast.
And have fun with it, too. I loved what you said about be hungry. I think Jamie could also say, there's in this industry, it's so easy at times to get stuck in the rut. You've probably figured that out, too. So just finding those influences like you talked about or looking at what other people are doing to try to be first is something new. This man right here changes graphics left and right because he hates being complacent, if we're being honest.
And I have a short attention span, and I get bored really easy.
Well, that was the one thing you told me the first day. It was like, all right, you made your forecast graphics. All right, now delete everything what you just did. Delete it. I'm like, what? Yep. I never done that. Usually I just keep the same graphics for tomorrow's, maybe add one or two. He's like, nope, delete the whole thing. Yeah.
Freshen it up. Fresh, and it keeps you from getting in a rut.
Yeah, which is really good for this industry. All right, Matt, take us through what got Fratty Matty into weather.
What got me into weather was kind of started out as a fear. So when I was younger, I was so terrified of storms, especially at night. I was so terrified, couldn't sleep, and my mom would actually pay my sisters to sleep with me once those storms rolled by, $10 a night. My sister's like, man, are you so afraid of storms? I need to make that money. But that fear kind of turned into fascination. I remember when I was 5, my mom painted one of the walls in the playroom with chalk paint. And so I would watch the Weather Channel, the local on the 8s, and I would draw the 7-day forecast. And it just got more and more fascinating. Started watching storm stories and Jim Cantori. He's kind of my weather idol growing up. And so kind of turned that into fascination. So I always knew what I wanted to do was either that or be a pilot naval aviator because Top Gun.
Right. Yeah.
And so when I went to high school, they actually had a meteorology class taught by Mr. Inge. And so I was like, you know what? Let me try this out. Let's see if I really like this. And once I took it, I was like, all right, I'm sold. Yeah. This is what I want to do. Rolled at UNC Charlotte, which is same school you went to.
Yes. Oh, 49ers. 49ers. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that was one of the first things he told me, or I saw.
I remember that.
And I was like, oh, fellow 49ers. So
right, Niner Nation.
Yeah, right. Let me give this guy a call. Yeah.
What would be one word you would use to describe Matt?
Awful.
That would be the second word.
Okay, well, see, honesty.
no.
I like that.
Kind. Like, one of the just genuinely kindest people I've ever met. Just kind and nice. A lot of people in this business, like me, are bitter and old and grumpy and retired. He's not there yet.
I'll get there. Don't worry.
Yeah,
I'm
you'll
still
get there.
young.
But for now, you're kind and happy and energetic and ready to go, and absolutely steps in every time we need him.
I like too that he's so like sporadic. You never know what he's going to say.
Yeah.
Yes.
That could
Like
be a good thing or a
just
bad
in
thing.
that story right there. Where's he going with this? And then like he says something completely off the cuff, which is what I love about him.
Yeah.
All right. So Matt, you came from Indiana.
Yep.
To come here. How's the beach life been for you? And what's forecasting, since we've been talking about this so long, what's forecasting hurricanes been like for you? How has that adaptation helped?
Honestly, it's been a blast. I mean, my first tropical experience was Tropical Storm Colin. Now, if you guys don't know, Tropical Storm Colin, I'm going to start with the first story first. It was like, Friday at 2 o'clock, a little storm system off the coast of the Carolinas had like a 20% chance of tropical development. 8 o'clock rolls by, 60%. And then 11 o'clock, 80%. And Jamie, Mr. Bossman, sent me a text saying, hey, we might have a tropical storm tomorrow. Just call me if you need me. Sure enough, at 4 o'clock in the morning, Tropical Storm Colin has formed on Georgetown. It didn't form on the ocean, formed right over Georgetown. Yeah. And even though it was a tropical storm, it was so wind shear that all the nasty stuff was off the shore. Mm-hmm. We didn't see any crazy wind, but the eye went right up along the Grand Strand. Yeah. But no rain. Yeah. And that was my first tropical experience here. And I was like, man, that's it? And nope.
Let me tell you the fun story about Colin. Y'all know, last week we talked about what I was watching, British gardening shows. Yeah. I'm usually in bed, if I'm not working the 11 o'clock news, like 9 o'clock, I'm in bed.
Yeah.
It's a great
That Friday night, had some friends in town, went to dinner. It was one of those nights where it's just like, all right, now let's go here. It was a rough night. We went pretty late, and it was probably about 2 o'clock before I went to bed that night. And 2 hours later, Maddie B called and said, hey, I've got this tropical storm. I was like, oh, God, I got to go in. I've got to go into work. It was a tough morning. It was a tough Saturday morning.
And for all storms, for it to be one like Colin, too.
Yeah, right.
Out of all of
clear skies.
Clear skies. It was literally sunny. It was raining offshore, and it was sunny, and we were under tropical storm warning. If I got to come into work for weather, like I wanted to do something. I need to see something. So, yeah, that's a little behind the scenes, Are You Serious After Dark story. For
but still keeping it PG.
But keeping it PG, yeah. Yeah, the rest of that story comes after dark.
One of the big factors for us when we brought in Matt wanted to get closer to family. You said you were from Raleigh. What I love is you actually have family in our area, which brings me to Nana.
Yeah.
We got to talk about Nana.
Yeah, Nana.
I don't even know. I guess you go up there and visit them like every couple weeks.
Yeah, it's usually like every other Wednesday. I'll drive up to Aner. That's where she lives, and we'll do little cooking sessions. And so she teaches me how to cook from scratch, like own sauce, own types of materials. And it's a wake-up call, let me tell you. I mean, usually, like, the way I learn from my parents, they kind of just do, like, the easy way. Instead of, like, shredding your cheese yourself, they just buy shredded cheese.
Of course, yeah.
My nan's like, nope. You got to shred it. I'm like, all right. They do everything by hand. And she keeps a little recipe cookbook. And so whatever we do, we just put in my own personal cookbook. And one of her famous recipes, which one day I'm going to make you guys. I'm still trying to learn how to make it.
I've still yet to taste any of Nana's food, so just
Nana,
kind of wait.
We still have not tried.
It's this graham cracker cream pie. All right,
it sounds incredible.
It's it kind of tastes like a creme brulee, like pudding mixture in the middle, and then like meringue on top. Oh, dude, like. My family would fight over this pies. I mean, it takes about 2 hours to make it by hand, but oh my gosh. I'm going to learn how to make it, bring it over to you guys. The only problem is I have no self-control. Like, I can eat a whole one by myself and hate myself after. And
still end up that skinny.
Well, we were talking about that.
We can't do that. Yep.
You don't have to worry about the great angle.
Yeah, his angle's just fine.
It's like a little beer belly.
But no, I love that though. I love that because that little book of recipes is going to mean everything to you.
The world.
Not to get off track, but I did the same thing with my grandmother. Learned to cook, and one of my most prized possessions that I have in my kitchen is a framed, handwritten recipe for her pecan pie, and it just every day I look at it, every time I look at it, it just takes me back. So yeah, savor those moments. That's wonderful.
Cooking with Nano, we should really do that.
That could be a really fun segment.
I think
they might get sick and tired of me. Stop coming here every week.
And now we're going to start bringing in a camera crew and lighting and have you.
Actually, I like that better. Yeah, hold on, I don't have to bring a camera. Hold up.
No, you'll be the star of the show there. So we talked about Colin. Colin obviously was followed up with some more disturbances in the Atlantic. We were talking about forecasting with Robert, because Robert kind of grew up in the Florida State mentality where it's your bread and butter.
Yeah.
What was that adjustment like for at least just understanding and forecasting tropical weather? Did you have a little bit of that in college, or was that more of just an adapt and follow Jamie and Robert like I did in my first year?
It was kind of a little bit of both. You know, I had a little bit of understanding with the tracks and stuff, but knowing the weather models, they always change every hour. So don't expect, okay, it's trending this way, and all of a sudden the next day it's completely polar opposite.
Yeah.
Kind of like how Ian was. We had this for sure track is going this way, and then the last, 24, 48 hours, like, just kidding, it's going this way. So that's been kind of an adjustment, but it's been really fun though, with learning more and more hurricanes. Again, I'm still young. I got a lot to learn, so got to learn from Boss Man and the Mr. Nice Man himself.
A couple more storms, either your belly will grow or you'll start to lose some hairs.
Yeah.
What about gray hair?
Gray. Yeah, the grays. Yep. A lot of hurricanes.
I'm pretty sure my favorite Matt story is your favorite Matt story.
Yes.
I'll let you, because you're a great storyteller. I love when you tell stories on the podcast. I've said that before. So.
And I'm assuming we're talking about Ian.
Yeah.
Talking about Ian, your second tropical system, but your first real one, and sort of a little backstory. And usually what I do, you were still fairly new on the team. I knew it was your first sort of major event. And usually what I like to do with people who've never sort of gone through a hurricane, worked a hurricane in this business, is the first one, I'm going to send you out.
Yeah.
Because, one, I want you to see and experience what it's like, how long it is, how hard it is, but also to see if you can do it.
Yeah.
Some people don't do well out in the elements, in the wind, in the rain. Other people love it. I think on this team, all of us,
loved it.
if we could choose, we would all be out live
No,
in
I
a
don't want to be in
hurricane
the
to cover
studio.
it.
He said
out there.
You've earned your stripes, and that's probably where you're going to be. So we were making the plan for our Ian coverage, and I was like, all right, Matt, we're putting Matty B out. He's going to be out. Let's let him sort of bust his chops and earn his chops on what it's like to cover hurricane out in the field, and you never know what you're going to get from a person who's never done it before.
Our team was fairly new with Ian, too.
Yeah.
That was, all reporters, Matt,
a lot
everybody.
of new reporters, a lot of, a new meteorologist. So sent him out, assigned him to go to Georgetown, knocked it out of the park. I mean, killed it for a very long day. I don't remember how long you were down there.
I got there around say 10 o'clock.
Yeah, and you were there right on through the late evening
7,
hours.
yeah.
So, not a terrible day,
Not
but
too
when
bad.
you're out in the wind and the rain
all
for
day.
that long and
You're not
standing
even
in
inside.
flood water, it's very exhausting. But, you absolutely killed it. And every time you did a hit, we're like, all right, Matt.
I would turn around. I remember, we're going to Matt.
Yeah. Not only because it was, you were seeing some really cool stuff, but just to watch you was very fun and pleasurable. You could tell you were having a good time, but you were also sort of getting across the importance of the severity of the situation, which is always good. And it's always kind of even in the most serious situations, you kind of occasionally have to have okay, we're going to be okay. It's not the end of the world.
I think it's being honest.
Being honest, and yes. And then we got into the afternoon, and you were hungry.
Yeah. Okay, well, when you're doing hurricane coverage, you don't have time to eat. You're out there in the elements. It's raining, windy, and you probably do these live hits every 15 minutes or so.
maybe earlier.
Maybe even earlier. And then you had to move different locations, and I didn't eat. The last thing I ate was Pop-Tarts.
Right.
Brown sugar Pop-Tarts at 6 a.m. That was the only thing I had. So you're hungry. Also, you don't have time to use the bathroom. I did not learn that. You're holding it for the whole entire day. So that was something I learned.
Everything's closed.
Everything is closed. And I was just so hungry. And the first thing that came to my mind was a grilled cheese. Because at that time when I talked about the grilled cheese, Ian was long gone from past Georgetown. It was just windy, cloudy, and cold because I'm sopping wet.
Yep.
And the floodwater started receding back into the rivers. And at the time, I was like, man, I just want a grilled cheese. And then apparently just like took off. We like loved it.
He said it on the air. It's like, man, I just want a grilled cheese. And it was just a classic, just such a pure, honest moment, because that's what we all feel sometimes. I just want a grilled cheese.
That's all I want.
And it took off. We laughed. It took off on social media, and it was just such a great, honest moment. So that's one of his other.
Now I just keep the ball rolling. Anytime
keep the
it's
ball,
cloudy, windy, or cold, it's grilled cheese weather.
Grilled cheese weather.
I loved when he tweeted, I guess it was a recent weekend. He was like, all right, your grilled cheese meter. I was like,
perfect. Yeah, you know what? Take it and own it.
Yep.
You own the grilled cheese now.
I think what made that so special, and was it dogs or kittens after?
Yeah, it was like a cat cafe.
That's what it was.
And so basically at that story, her garage is flooded. So her cats, they're stuck in the garage and they're like trying to swim, get into shelter. It was a great, touching story. Luckily, none of her cats perished. They all survived. But learn that story, it's like, oh, those poor little kittens, they're swimming and trying to like take shelter. So that was really interesting. I talked to a lot of people that day. I mean, there's one where a sailboat, right on the Riverwalk.
I remember this hit too.
The sail like popped, and so I like mentioned it, and then like 30 minutes later, the owner of the boat comes out, and he's like trying to like get a sail together. It was a jib, like the front sail popped. So I jump on the boat with him, not thinking of anything. I was like, I'm gonna help this guy out, and the boat was rocking left and right, like, oh my gosh, what did I get myself into? And basically, we didn't even tie down the sail. We just ended up cutting it because it was already ripped. Like, just cut it, get rid of it, get off the boat, make sure everything's tied down. And about like 5-10 minutes on the boat, finally helped him. And then he's like, thank you so much for helping me. We tried to do like a live hit on my Facebook Live, but like the wind cut the entire audio. But he was like so thankful. He's like, thank you so much. You're like risking your life. I was like, honestly, I didn't even think about it. I just thought about helping.
That's awesome.
I feel like hurricane coverage too. Yes, that day is long.
Yeah.
But you pile that onto like sometimes 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And you never know what we're going to say. And that was one of those things. I remember coming home exhausted after Ian, just ready to hit the bed. And as soon as I walked through, Emily's like sitting on the couch and she was like, Dave and Matt have made my day. Yeah. And I think it's because we do have people that have the fear that we grew up with or the fascination, and they're on the edge of their seat on the couch. And when it's that moment to where they can finally relax, those people kept it real the entire time. Yeah. Like Dave was so good.
The hat went flying. He's like, I lost my hat.
Oh.
Yeah. In case you didn't see it, so not only was Maddie new, but our new sports director, Dave Ackert, pulled a short straw. It's like it's all hands on deck in a hurricane. So, and where did we send him? But the North Strand in Cherry Grove that was absolutely hit the worst. So there's our sports director out doing live shots. Probably some of the most compelling live shots of the entire hurricane were from our sports director. So, yeah.
Absolutely crazy to see. So Matt's fascinated with cooking with Nana and grilled cheese. When you're not working, you're still. How long have you been here?
Just a little over a year.
Yeah, a little over a year. Yeah.
Yeah, I started March. March.
Yeah.
So what does Matt do when he's not at work?
Plot twists, absolutely nothing.
That's a common theme. Yeah,
honestly, I'll probably go to the beach for a little bit.
Okay.
I'm a big walker.
Okay.
I love walking. So,
get him in a walking. I'm picturing a walking club.
I love walking. I'm not a runner, but I can walk to the beach if I wanted to. But honestly, nothing. I'm not really flamboyant. Oh, I play tennis or basketball, which I do love playing sports, but I'm very lazy.
Yeah, no, it's okay. You live at the beach,
Exactly.
You're getting into that sort of, laid back lifestyle.
To each their own.
Yeah.
Any questions you have for Matt?
Let's see. Should we talk a little bit about your recent trip down to Brook Green Gardens?
Oh,
so I was hoping Jamie would bring that up.
Yeah, had an
Tell us about that.
Oh man,
trip.
So that was the engagement day, and so it was long planned.
Yeah.
And so I had her parents into it, and so I asked the dad for permission about a couple weeks, I think 4 weeks prior to that day. And of course said yes, thankfully. And so we had this whole thing planned about the Brookgreen Garden. So I had their parents scope out a couple locations. I think it's like 7 pictures they sent me. And I was like, ooh, I like this one. It's by a fountain. We got beautiful flowers. Let's do that one.
Yeah.
And so I tried like planning to like try to surprise her by, getting her nails. I was like, oh, do it for your parents' anniversary. Because apparently like her parents' anniversary was a day before I proposed to her.
Oh.
So like her mom's like,
Look at this sentimental
I know,
man.
right?
and so the mom's like, yeah, okay, but let's go get our nails done. So they get her nails done. And that's when she started getting suspicious. But she didn't tell me at that time.
Right.
So at the time, she's just kind of like, get her nails done. We go to Brookgreen Gardens to take spring pictures. That was the thing. And so we get there and we walk around. The parents kind of give me the signal, like, they're nodding their head. It's there. And I'm like, this is location? The original spot, all the flowers died.
Oh, no.
So like all the beautiful like pink flowers that surround the whole area, dead. It was just a fountain. I'm like, this is the place? All right, let's go do it. And, halfway into like proposing, saying, ever since the first day I met you, you had this little twinkle in your eye. That's when I knew you were the one. Halfway in, she's like, are you proposing to me? I'm like, yes, you ruined the moment. Didn't cry at all.
Right.
I'm like, wow.
Yeah,
I thought I was going to surprise you. Nothing. And so then we start taking more like proposal pictures. So it looks like, oh, wow, this beautiful place. So photogenic. No, we staged that one. I'm being honest.
Hey, it's all for the social media.
It's all about the social
right?
media. The real one, the flowers today. I do have a video of that one. But no cries, no tears, nothing. And so I sent that to Erica Edwards, the anchor for the Noon 4. And she calls out Cammie and Eric. I'm like loving it. I'm like, yes. Call her out. She didn't cry.
Right.
And she's like, I kind of knew once I got my nails done. My mom and I, we never get our nails done.
The girls always know.
Yeah.
They know it's coming.
I don't know if Emily knew, but she probably did.
I thought I was doing great. I mean, frantically, I did have like the ring box in my pocket. And I was like trying to hold it because it was like sticking out of my khakis. And I'm like trying to hold it. And so she was skeptical the whole time. I was like, in my head, I'm like, oh, I got her.
Yeah.
Nope.
No.
Nothing.
Well, she's a sweet girl. She's a sweetheart. So congratulations on the engagement. That is wonderful.
She's stuck with me, just like you guys are stuck with me.
Yeah, and that's what I like. That's what I always say.
Do we have sound effects?
New people show up. I want to get them married and buying a house, having some kids, and that means they don't go anywhere, and that means I don't have to hire anybody.
Jamie's
So we're
minions.
locking them down. Locking them down.
Well, all three of us are here.
All part of my plan.
I do want to bring up this because I remember the week that you were proposing. I know you're always focused on the weather, but you were really focused on the weather for, was it that Friday?
Yeah, that was a Friday. I was worried.
Would you all, this is going to be a weird question, would you all change, if you could, anytime we have big events, like if we have a festival or whatever, I spend way too much time looking at model data. I kind of wish I would forget how to forecast when I have plans, because then I like get mad, like, I don't know, 40% chance. This man was worked up.
Yeah.
Because like at the time there was a 40% chance. Like, oh my gosh, please don't rain. If it does rain, can you just do it in the morning or at night? Like, I'm freaking out. Luckily, it was partly cloudy, but as soon as I finished the proposal pictures, it started raining. I was like, oh my God, thank God.
I remember he was so worried. He was asking questions about the forecast. And I'm like, there's a lot of pressure here. I do not appreciate this one bit.
Well, it's kind of like some of the like questions we get from viewers. Hey, is it going to rain 3 weeks from now on the Saturday of a wedding? I'm like,
yeah, 4 p.m. June 3rd. Is it going to rain? I barely know if it's going to rain tomorrow.
I would say yes, but we don't know where.
I say 20% chance.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
always. Yeah.
Sunny and 20%.
Yeah.
Might hit you.
Yeah.
One of my favorite Matt moments is when he first started. We were sitting in the weather center. This may have been on day one. And Matt was like, he kind of asked the question looking for an answer, like digging for you to say the certain thing. I didn't know what that would be, but Matt was like, do you listen to music? Do you remember this?
Yes.
I said, like, yeah. Like, I'm normal.
Yeah,
I like
right.
music. He's like, what's your favorite? Like, what's your go-to karaoke song? And I never knew what he meant by that. And, like, I bet you we could name a song right now, and he has it on his playlist. His playlist for karaoke, which is his hobby, he lied, and that is his favorite thing to do.
Not a good singer, though.
Is from dirty pop NSYNC to classic 60s and 70s.
I love that.
Boy bands.
Yeah.
We got to see it at the Christmas party.
We did, yeah.
Hey, High School Musical. Hey, you and I.
You know,
Started something new.
Yep.
Oh,
That's good talent there. I love that.
that's my favorite. Other than the grilled cheese, that's my favorite moment. Matt, for the future here, what are you most excited about?
Honestly, that's a good question.
Yeah, me too. I'm not excited about anything.
Because, I mean, like, honestly, just learning and growing. Because I feel like every day I've been here, I've gotten just 1% better. And so I'm excited to see where I grow as a meteorologist. Because 5 years ago, when I was at WOI, I was terrible. And, like, when you go over your old videos, it's kind of fun to see how much you've grown, how much you learned. Honestly, just excited to make memories. I think with more, significant weather events, that creates some memories for us. That's the ones we remember vividly.
Oh, yeah.
You probably remember this one. One of my memories is kind of like not a good memory. It's just like, it was probably the most embarrassing story for me here. It was my first time going out live reporting. It was a severe weather event. I think it was like in May. So
I remember this story.
So we had this line of showers and thunderstorms. We had a level 4. Moderate risk for severe weather. I'm not sure if you remember that day. And I get sent to Georgetown. We're talking about like where to go. And so Georgetown had a good chance of seeing severe weather. So the first thing that went wrong was we're going to like do like driving shots, like have the phone go live. My phone did not fit in the little holder. I'm like, guys, it's not working. Have you tried, taking the phone case off? I don't know how you do that. These things are so hard to take off, and I had to Google it how to take that case off. So I pull over, take the case off. Guys, it doesn't work. I felt so bad. Like, great. First, like being live, mess up number 1, and then from Georgetown, we kept looking at the models, and you and I made the call by going to Kingstree. So I drive to Kingstree. And so they're doing wall-to-wall coverage. They had 3 tornado warnings in Kingstree. I was right there in the middle. I was like, oh, let's go. So get the tripod mixed up. I was right in the interception lane of where the warning would happen. Nothing happened, good, which is good news. But the wind started howling and the lightning started going in. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going inside the car. It's not looking too good. I don't want to get struck by lightning. And the camera falls. Claps, breaks. I'm like, oh my gosh. That's number 2. I'm like, oh, they're going to kill me. First day, like, live reporting, everything's just going wrong.
Yep.
And so I tried doing stuff on my phone. It looked all right, not that great. And then once I finally got home, it was like midnight. I get out of the station car, ripped up my IFB. It was tied around the seat belt. So I'm like, great. That's the last thing that needs to go wrong. And I felt so bad breaking the camera. But luckily, management was great. Like, no, the only important part is you're safe. I'm like, what? Wait, what?
And you now know to strap down a tripod.
Yeah, now I know. Honestly, if I could go
part
back,
of the learning process.
Honestly, I would have just been in the trunk kind of filming it.
Right.
I think it was the best thing to do it, but you kind of learn through your mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what it's about.
So for an inside perspective, when we do those driving shots, he mentioned like his phone didn't fit in the thing because typically that shot's always up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember we were talking. This was, I think, the Allendale storm. That whole system. Yeah. We were talking that day, saying, "Where is Matt shot? Why do we not see?" Because you could just take it anytime in the newscast. This man, anytime he had a hit, would pull off on the side of the road, unload his gear, strap it all in, put it together, mic up, and. I didn't realize what was happening until after the fact.
Until after the fact, yeah.
But that just shows, I think, the type of guy that Matt is of like, hey, I'll do it. Yeah. Like, yes. And it's like, well, you don't need
to do that much.
Oh, I love that so much. I love that. Absolutely. Anything else you want to add? I'm trying to think. There was something I was going to say, but I can't remember what it was. It was in relation to that story, and I've already lost it. Our TV monitor went back.
Yeah, we saw that. I was trying to tell you, but he was talking. I didn't want to be the
Jamie
rude guy. Yeah, that's usually our sign that we're about to run out of time. So, just fantastic, and so happy you're here on the team. Let's talk about some of the things moving forward that we're working on.
A lot. What are we allowed to say? You're the boss.
I mean,
should we do inside scoop here?
I mean, we can inside scoop.
It'd be bad if we said it and it didn't happen.
I love the inside scoop. So we're working on a bunch of stuff for the start of hurricane season. So obviously, I feel like we keep kind of going back to hurricanes here on this podcast.
Yeah.
for obvious reason. You know, we're a hurricane place. But, yeah, working on some fun stuff. We may try to take this show on the road a time or two. That's not a promise. That's
I think what we should ask is, if we did a live podcast, would you come?
Yeah. So if we did a live podcast, would you come? We're thinking about it.
And I'm thinking, I don't know technology. I don't know what's doable, but having someone ask questions, we're here, we talk about it. Yeah. There's a live audience.
Yeah, maybe kind of a little group
maybe a
setting,
cocktail or two.
Maybe you know what, we may crack open a beer.
Well, as long as it's a good restaurant. I think that's the important part.
Yeah. So that's something we're thinking about. We're thinking about some future topics on here. So again, if you know anything, let us know. If you want to know anything, let us know. I want to give a shout out to you for your past 2 busy weekends because we had 2 back-to-back weekends with severe weather threats. And if you don't know, Matt works the dreaded double weekend shift.
And he's great at it.
Which means you do Saturday morning, Saturday 6, Saturday 11, Sunday morning, Sunday 6, Sunday 11.
It's honestly not bad unless severe weather happens
Unless
and you're
severe
like,
weather,
don't get any sleep.
Yeah.
But the 3-day weekends are worth it.
Yeah. So we reward him handsomely by being off Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So you get a nice break of that. But nice work here on the past couple of weekends. Let's quickly talk about these storms we had this past Sunday.
Yeah.
The morning, this was the setup where it looked like maybe the morning could be kind of rough. Had a lot of wind shear around, but as we had been talking about, we didn't really have the fuel. But man, that sun came out Sunday morning.
Why does that always happen when it's like a level 1 risk?
Yeah, yeah. And originally, sort of those afternoon storms weren't really the ones we were that concerned about.
No.
It was the morning ones.
It was the morning storms, but man, we had that morning rain, and it just went from rain to like a full-on sunshine for a couple of hours. And it did what sunshine does. And that atmosphere energized in a hurry.
I don't know if you all remember the model. Well, I know you all do, but the people watching, I don't know if they remember what we were showing Future Radar. There were actually 2 bands in the morning. Mm-hmm. There was like a band right before the low, and then there was a band with the low that had all the shear. Mm-hmm. That first band didn't do much overnight because when I woke up at like 2:30 to Brooks, I looked, I was like, there's just a couple of showers. That's it. So then that second band had a little bit more energy.
Yeah.
But it was so fast moving, it was gone.
It was in and out.
The clouds were gone. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, oh, wait a second. This second line might be the one. The damage photos coming in.
Definitely looking like microburst, maybe even, I don't know, macroburst down on the South Strand because we had some of that minor damage down to Murrells Inlet, some things blown around, some siding, some shingles ripped off. Garden City up to Surfside, and about as far north, I think, is like the Deerfield.
Yeah, Deerfield was as far north.
Sockasty, south side of Sockasty area. So that was one heck of a storm. And the funny thing about those storms is I was looking at them, and they looked decent on radar, but they didn't look anything like what sort of our normal severe thunderstorms. They were small, but they were intense little storms.
Very intense. Yeah. Also, too, the rainfall rates in some of those were coming down. The estimates are probably a little off because our radar was also down at one point, so I couldn't really get a good estimate. But we got so much rain at the house. We were well over 2 inches at my house of rain. So the forecast verified in the rainfall, which is always the good news. I think that's a good reminder to people, too. It doesn't take much.
Yeah.
Especially in our atmosphere. Yeah. Down here.
Yeah.
For things to get going.
Yeah.
You get just a little bit of sunshine.
Yeah, a little sunshine. That sunshine, that's why we always say, on those severe weather days, like sunshine is bad. Yep. If you don't want severe weather, keep those clouds around. So that, and Sunday was a perfect example of that. And even the previous Saturday where we had the severe weather, sunshine came out. And sure enough, those storms fired up.
Especially in Robinson County?
Yeah, Robinson County with the tornado warning up there. So, sunshine. It does it every time.
I just thought of a really good idea, and I'm only going to say this so we can remember it.
Okay.
This may not even work. Once again, we don't do technology. You were talking about and I remember what I was going to say. You were talking about your first time ever on air.
Yeah.
What if we go back to the earliest footage of us on air? Okay. I don't know if we could do like a watch-along situation.
That'd be really fun.
Where maybe we can hear it. We talk about it. Maybe
now, for mine, you're going to have to find a VCR. Because that's how old I am.
Maybe we could do, instead of our first, maybe we could do, for hurricane season, maybe we could say, hey, let's look back at our coverage from Florence or Matthew and talk about that.
That would be fun. That would be fun.
Anyways,
going back to the speaking of VCRs and VHS tapes, I actually thought of that when you were talking about looking for jobs and how far things have come and how different things are now. Your generation, records a couple of, hits in front of the green screen and the weather, and you pop it on YouTube.
You can
and
edit it up.
You pop it up on YouTube, and you're good to go.
I had tape deck at one point.
This was awful. Let me tell you what it was like. You would, at my internship, I made my reel, which was a couple of different weathercasts, and then you would put it on VHS tapes, and you would have to take all of these VHS tapes to the post office, pay for them to get stamped and everything, and I probably did that 50 times, sent out 50 VHS tapes looking for a job. And the thing back then, now, like when somebody sends in a resume reel or something, you look at it, you'll watch it, then you'll kind of skip ahead and find the highlights of it. Back in the day, and there was even a saying like, if the first 15 seconds of that VHS tape aren't interesting and you don't prove yourself, eject, done.
Trash.
So yeah, it's come a long way. So that's how I got my job, on a VHS tape, and that's where my first reel is on VHS. Somewhere
out
deep
there
in my closets or attic at home is my VHS tape.
If only we could get that back.
I do have a VHS player.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, well, we may have to see if we can figure out how to work that. Although it's probably all just a dusty, relic now.
Yeah, we don't know anything about technology. People set this up for us every episode.
I literally show up and sit down.
We just let the technology stuff back to Robert. All right.
Show up. Yeah. Send it to Robert.
Where's those Windows updates when you need them? Matt, thank you, dude.
This was fantastic.
This was. I feel like we could talk to Matt and Robert for hours and hours, but we don't want to bore you all.
Don't want to bore you all too much. So again, appreciate you coming. We're working on the future things. Let us know. Like, rate, subscribe, share, download.
You did it. I think that was everything.
Was that it?
I think that was everything. Look at you.
Look at me.
He's Jamie Arnold.
Right.
Awesome, man.
Yeah. So this was good. So again, thank you, and let us know what you think.
Yeah,
We'll
this is
some more episodes.
Are You Serious? A weather conversation between you and us. See you all.